Mom! Dad's got another tattoo!
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, the Midlife Crisis podcast. I'm Mark and I am here with my co-host Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Lot to get through today, so let's get started with correspondence. For people getting in touch at Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo at gmail.com or Dad's Got Another Tattoo across all the social media platforms. So give us a bell, give us a message about all your hopes and dreams and experiences, and then we can turn it into a bit of content. We have a message from a woman.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Come one, come all.
So Tracy writes, Dear Richard and Mark, really loving the podcast. Mark's moaning has me in tears of laughter. Moaning? I don't think I'm a moaner, am I?
Tracy, see how funny you find it after nearly 40 years.
I always find this very surprising. I think I'm an upbeat, energetic, optimistic person. And then people say that I'm moaning.
If you think everyone's a cunt, you're probably the cunt.
No, but that's not what I think. That's not what I think. I just don't identify as a moaner.
I think it's not the content, it's the way it's delivered.
I will accept that. I will accept there is, even in my...
the cut of your jib, so to speak.
Yeah, I do have a rather cynical tone, I think, which doesn't help. Anyway, Tracy writes, loving the podcast. I'm also loving the clips on Instagram. I thought you both would be sexier.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm taking this like a dagger in the heart. I've been working on me muscles for like the best part of 2 years so far. And this is what I get. You should be sexier. I think it is a salutary lesson, and will add muscles to cars, being good at guitars, and I'm sure there are plenty of other things as well, where you may think that developing these skills may attract the attention of women. What they actually do is attract the attention of other men.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had it already.
Have you?
Netball Dad said, you obviously work out. It's the first person has said that.
He didn't give you the purple Aki, did he? Let's feel your muscles.
Well, it's a very niche reference.
It is a very niche reference.
But no, I'll leave that in. No, he didn't, but I think he wanted to.
That's where he was going.
Right, so yeah, thanks Tracy, thanks for listening. Sorry not sexy, I'm working on the six-pack, and hopefully one day we will climb that.
I'm comfortable with my lot. I can put a filter on, I suppose. But if you can find me many 46-year-old men, nearly 47, will barnet that good. Come at me. Now we get a response.
Yeah. Well, it's thick and lush. I won't.
All mine. Yeah. All mine. No turkey trips.
No, I'll tell you, I'm definitely need like a bit of unfortunate light in there. It's going a bit.
I'm going to say it's not a good angle, that.
No, it's not. It's not.
Bruv, your headline's a myth.
We've also been contacted by Sam, who was prompted by the chat about can you change your look or your image at work? And Sam's main point is that essentially he wanted to be known as Sam with the long hair at work, and he was able to do this, and he was able to do it even when he cut his hair, because he became Sam who used to have long hair at work.
Love it.
Yet despite this, he's reluctant to move from contact lenses to glasses unless he changes jobs.
Changing jobs because you fancy a pair of bifocals.
I don't think moving from glasses or to glasses from contact lenses is that controversial. I was talking about like the pocket watch, growing a bit like these big moves. Yeah. But I mean, you seem very comfortable with this idea. You're on the side of the fence as, I will rock up with, a pair of...
I don't care.
No, don't care. That's very good. I want more people to be in that frame of mind about everything, rather than...
I mean, if you turn up to work one day with a spider's web on your face, which will probably be the natural progression of where we're going, then I think things may be said. But yeah, no, it's changing your style. It's changing your style. It's expressing yourself.
Yeah, that is true. I'm still very self-conscious about it. I won't wear short sleeves in the office anymore.
No, I can't remember short sleeve shirts for me are a bit of a t-shirts, yeah, obviously, but short sleeve shirts are a bridge too far, fashion wise.
Well, I think it's still the button-down collar smart shirt, but I mean it's fucking 26 degrees today. I mean,
roll the sleeves up. That's a better look.
Even that. Well, what I mean is no arms on display because of my ink work.
I don't see it. I don't see that being a problem in the modern workplace.
It probably isn't. But
to you,
yeah, I just not ready for that revelation yet, especially as it's really new. It's like, because last summer I was wearing short sleeves and I was still not even a year into my tattoo collection. Yeah, I've absolutely discovered.
What I suppose. People you worked with last summer, so this summer, all of a sudden, there's artwork everywhere.
All of a sudden. That's the thing, it's the all of a sudden. Anyway, thanks, Sam, for getting in touch. Hopefully we can dive over the weeks and months into whatever these things are that drive us to be so self-conscious. I mean, sometimes it may well be legitimate, sometimes it isn't, and it's very difficult to know what the difference is. But yeah, as I say, please get in touch with us. Dad's Got Another Tattoo at gmail.com and Dad's Got Another Tattoo on all the social media platforms. Rich, I've got an injury update for you.
Go for it.
Well, it's less of an update because I didn't tell you I was injured in the first place, but I am nursing an injury, and it comes straight out of the ironic injury department. Do you know what I've got?
What's that?
Do you know what I've got?
Go on.
Golfer's elbow.
For the man that hates golf, that's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, got golfer's elbow. So anyone will probably be more familiar with the term tennis elbow, which is the outside of your elbow will start to hurt. I've got an inside of the elbow issue, which just aches a little bit.
Any ideas what's caused it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I first noticed it because I've got a tattoo on my inner bicep on that arm, and I kind of noticed it after that because getting tattooed is a bit traumatic to the body, bruising afterwards, and I felt it right in that sort of inner elbow lump. As you know, you can tell I'm a real expert, but you know, wherever that was, I thought it was just a bit of bruising. It probably was, but it has hung around for a number of weeks and is now impacting my gym workout. I can definitely feel it in there. But in complete contrast to the advice that we've been given, get these things sorted out early, I've just been totally ignoring it. And
yeah, just put a leather belt in your mouth and start doing some curls. That's the way we do it.
Yeah, I've slightly modified some exercises so it doesn't hurt too much, but that's where we are. And it's, sometimes it's hard to not think that you're the centre of the universe when you rail about how boring fucking golf is, golf this, golf that, golf the other, and then the universe goes, oh yeah.
Go take the piss.
Yeah, have some of that.
Mind you, saying that, speaking of golf-related injuries, last couple of rounds, I use it as my fitness. I like to walk. I don't even carry. I've got an electric trolley, so it's just me walking. And I found, after the last couple of rounds, if I go out in the garden, I've got a fairly high step getting back in. It happened the first time. I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh, bit of a sore hip. My duck's hip, just for a day or two. But I'm like, well, that's never not going to be there, is it, after a round? And then I played last week, and yeah, same thing.
You old bastard.
The marching of time.
I know, but what are we going to do about it? The point of this podcast isn't just to moan and groan about all our aches and pains. It's to create a healthy environment where we deal with these things. Now, I know I said I haven't done anything about it. Not true. I went onto YouTube and Googled weights golfer's elbow, and there's some rehabby stuff that I've incorporated, and it seems to be working. So what are you going to do about? I want you to commit to doing something about it.
I have signed up for something called Golf Fit, which was what the pros use, their exercises to strengthen the areas that you need for golf. So I'm incorporating that alongside normal gym routine.
I think that's very good. And do you know what? I want everyone listening to this, got an ache and pain or something, do something about it now. Like, stop the podcast, get onto YouTube or anywhere, get onto Google, find out what you're going to do about it. Come on, let's get everyone moving and, addressing all these issues that they have.
And another solution that I've had with my neck issues, obviously I've been having treatment on that. My wife came up with the most simple one. I have my laptop, work on a laptop on the desk there, however many hours a day. I've got a perfectly good raised section there. Bought a little stand for the laptop, so it's a nice, like you can probably see them at a different height at the moment. And mysteriously, most of the pain's gone. Well, who'd have thought it?
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Taking action. That's what we're all about. Mentioned in a previous episode that I do not go to Nando's, not because of the chicken and chips, but because of the whole culture of anti-intellectualism that I believe infects the whole brand. Chicken and chips I've got no problem with. The actual concept is Nando's specifically. Now, I spoke about this at a recent family barbecue to people who didn't know me, and quite frankly, they thought, at best, I was a complete prick, and at worst, I was a total racist.
I mean, to be honest, at that barbecue, I imagine you spoke at them, not to them.
Of course I did.
Yeah, standard.
Someone said, oh, he's got a podcast, and so I started reproducing bits from it. Now, shorn of its context, it didn't come across that well, and the person who did know me and introduced me tried to add a bit of context to it, but I was too far gone, and I was deep into Mark's bit of a prick.
That train was in motion.
Train was in motion. If you've heard this before, don't stop me. I'd like to hear it again. It was that. I stand by the view. I have further evidence. Listen to this.
Do you have an unpopular opinion?
Oh, I don't like Nando's.
Oh!
I
all
know.
right.
I
Okay.
don't like Nando's.
The Nando's thing,
It's tricky.
it's tricky for me because I feel like we've sort of been bullied into it as a nation.
Oh,
That we like, no, that we like it. No, I feel like we have, as we're supposed to like it.
Right.
So, Greg James, Addison Rae, on the Radio 1 Breakfast Show, you don't get more culturally zeitgeisty of that. They're saying what people thus far have been unable to say, that we've been bullied into it as a nation, it's no good, and my views are slowly already going to become the norm within a matter of weeks.
Right, but again, going back to the barbecue and what you said previously, you have taken my merely innocent point and ramped it up to 15, because Thursday night scenarios, gymnastics, I come out there, I've got KFC or Nando's. I'm not going out of my way to go to Nando's. It's the easiest and healthier option of the two. It could be something else that was healthy. I'd be going there. It's not Nando's per se, but you have taken this to a campaign to bring the company to its knees.
Because I've got principles, right? And many times it has been easier for me to have a Nando's than not. Just like you. But, I think about the fabric of this country, the cultural impact that certain brands have, and I'm against it. I'm totally against it. And Radio 1, the campaign starts here.
But then, is Starbucks the same? Is Costa Coffee the same?
Yeah.
So
yes,
you get rid of all chains?
Yeah, why not? Right? No,
Here we go.
Look, do you know what's...
Has the heat got to you?
No, look, do you think I'm just coming up with this? This is deep-held stuff over a number
This is
of
what
years.
keeps you awake at night.
You know Starbucks, when it first came, they'd be on opposite sides of the road. Do you know what it is? They found that people would not cross the road to go to Starbucks because it's shit. And so what they did, they put one on both sides of the road, so you would have to go into one of them. And gradually, the homogenisation of Western society, and Nando's is part of that. So, fuck Starbucks and Nando's and all these other places. And you'll find out how principled I am when this podcast has millions and millions of listeners and they want to advertise, and I go back and edit all this out.
Going back to a conversation back in the midst of time where Mark discussed having a certain group of friends, and there's a limit on how many there are.
Yeah, you've got a social capacity. Is that what you're...
Got a social capacity. And I take my dogs for the walk before work in the morning, get up nice and early, and there are people there that are lovely. They're lovely. You get to see, because you go at the same time, you get to see the same people. I love it when you're walking towards each other, stroke a friendly dog. How's your day? Weather? Have a good one. See you tomorrow. My problem arises is when your lap around said country park synchronises with that person.
Oh.
And you're fucked.
Does that mean you're basically walking side by side with them?
Side by side, yeah. And
so surely you've got to change the pace.
Normally I can outpace them, but then it's okay when you've got a spaniel. Not so easy now. I've got a little dash hound as well. The pacing is a little bit, but yeah, I've got my checklist of questions, so I sort of eke those out a little bit, let them see what they come up with, then freestyle, and then ultimately, I've got a set route that I like, because there was other bits that are a bit fiddly, but I will go off-piste to get away from people.
Right, I think that is the end of part 1. Join us in a minute. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo. Now, we've mentioned him a couple of times, and I kind of feel like he's the high priest of the midlife crisis, Brian Johnson. If you don't know him, he is a tech multi-millionaire. I wouldn't quite call him a billionaire, but, he's got a few quid. And he's basically dedicating his whole life to basically not dying. Health protocols, eating, supplements, exercise, sun exposure, you name it, he's trying to optimize everything in a bid to, as he says, slow down the aging process. So basically he can live forever. And he's got a Netflix documentary out called Don't Die, The Man Who Wants to Live Forever. And Richard and I have watched it. We watched it separately, and we're going to talk about it now, aren't we?
We are.
My first question to you is, before you watched it, what was your view of longevity, extending your life, this obsession with staying alive for as long as possible?
Looking after your health, and if in that way you are prolonging your life, that's a positive. I see that as a positive. If you're making good changes to your life, but you have a balance in your life, then I don't see that as a problem. The documentary was eye-opening and uncomfortable in a lot of places.
It was, but did it change your view? Now, could I reflect what I think you've said in the past, which is basically this idea that you're born, you grow up, you have an adult life, you slowly decline into old age, and then eventually you'll die, if you're lucky, 80, 90, 100 years old, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's fine. And you do what you can within limits to make that as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, as healthy as possible, as you can within, normal limits, or what you find as suitable limits.
Yeah. Now I had a different view of that, which is that, and it came through a song what I wrote. Don't worry, everyone, I'm not going to play it. But it was based on a conversation I had with my daughter. It was about 5 or 6 at the time. It's called Moving to Mars. And the first 2 verses are about a little conversation that we had where I pretended that we had to pack up our stuff and move to Mars or the moon. And she gave me some very funny kid reasons why she didn't want to go. Spacesuits didn't fit the dogs. No building material on Mars. Some very practical,
sensible ideas. To be fair,
sensible ideas, cutesy. But then in the third verse, it sort of develops. Moving to Mars becomes a metaphor for my own death, which we hope, in the normal order of things, will come in many years from now, before my daughter, etc. But then I got very upset about that. I thought at some point our relationship will be terminated by death, and then one day she'll be an old woman and she'll die as well, and that made me really upset. Those two things really got to me. Maybe that is why all this is happening, and so I have a degree of admiration for people like Brian Johnson, who I expect, and I'll come on to the reasons why I think he's doing this, but they also understand this, but he's got the resources and the time and the inclination to be able to do the maximum to prolong it. And I think it's one of those things, like, we're all very blasé about the concept of getting old and dying to a large extent. And the documentary has lots of clips of people saying, oh, you got to die at some point. And, you're very blasé when that something like that is very far in the future, you would hope. But when it actually push comes to shove, maybe you don't think like that. Now, I'm going to ask you about, you had a health scare at some point a little while ago that thankfully was nothing, as you suspected at the time. But I'm asking you to go back to, like, the feelings that you had at that moment. And if they had said to you, right, something is badly wrong, but we can solve this by, first of all, you've got to get up at 4:30 in the morning, you've got to eat all this shit, you've got to have your last meal at 11 o'clock in the morning, you've got to do all this exercise, would you have done it in that moment?
I think I would have done. I think at that moment, I mean, at the time, I was extrapolating, what if it's bad, what planning for that. I was already planning for what am I going to tell the family? What are they going to be doing in the future? How are they going to be supported? Yeah, all those things. You do a million things run through your mind. So
what Brian Johnson is doing, so what I've described there is a sort of highlight of what he does as the health regimes. They're called protocols these days. It's the new way of describing, I have a multivitamin in the morning. That's my morning health protocol according to this. So that's the nomenclature that we're dealing with. And so my overall view before I got into this was that he is thinking about that conversation, that hypothetical conversation that I just gave you, and instead of doing it when it's too late, he's doing it now.
From his personal point of view, I agree with that. But as someone pointed out, and what he was saying is, I'm going to be the extreme outlier. And what I'm doing can be a benchmark for other people. And he even says himself, obviously, I don't expect people to be able to do everything I'm doing, especially because it's in 2 years, it's costing $2.5 million. So obviously, but there was the Harvard doctor on there that had actually met Brian Johnson. And although he's saying this is a blueprint for other people, it was shown that nothing he's doing is in a scientific way. Nothing can be used for anybody else.
Yeah, I've got a very similar critique of that. I don't think you need to have that understanding of the scientific method. He's he's introduced too many things and changes too many things for us to identify what about it is working. And I'm sure there's some sort of diminishing returns about this as well, is that, let's say, the way he refers to it is like he slowed his speed of aging. So to about, I think his latest number is about 48%. So for every year that goes by, his body is aging slightly under 6 months. And he wants to get that number down to 0. But what is he doing specifically that is...
What's working and what's not?
Yeah. What is the biggest impact? Where does that come from?
Yeah. And I've got a question for you. Okay. Barring a really impressive physique for a man of his age, does he look well to you?
No, he doesn't. And
I mean...
Do you know what I've always thought he looks like? He looks like...
Go on.
Appropriately, I think, the vampires in the Twilight series. So they move... Because he's got this very sort of pale, pallid, almost
shiny.
Waxy... Yeah, he's a bit waxy and shiny. But... and I do think that he looks a bit weird, but maybe that is because our view of what is healthy, tanned, shiny, that sort of look is actually very unhealthy for your body. And so we've got a warped view of what healthy looks like, and maybe he is the example. Yeah. But I mean, to my eyes, he doesn't look great.
I mean, and what doesn't help is, I mean, let's be honest, he's got 3 ways of being dressed. Fuck all on. Right. He loves a drop. He loves a drop being naked.
Yeah.
Gym gear, which is understandable, or looking like an extra from the Prometheus. That top he was wearing, where'd you buy that? You know, the black one with the mesh and then all the bits. I was like, you look like you're from a sci-fi film. You're not. Listen, everyone can wear what they want, they've said, but I'm like, it adds to people's overall view of him.
Yeah, it does. He does conform in his own way to an archetype. You know, the eccentric millionaire living up in the California hills or wherever the fuck he lives. Staying out the sun and wearing weird shit that Bond villains would fucking get. But at his heart, he's a tech geek as well. So, you know, that's all part of it. And I kind of feel like he's almost learning to have a sense of humour about it. He doesn't feel a very natural interaction. Like, his interactions with people are very stilted and awkward, I think.
And the way he holds himself as well was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, he doesn't look comfortable.
No.
That is the thing. He always looks very stiff. I'm sure he's very flexible, but when he's standing, maybe it's just his like body musculature and all that. I mean, he's in great shape. I mean, that's the sort of look that I'm aiming for, but I'm not prepared to compromise as much as he is, and I'm unable to in some ways to do it.
But that's all he does now. He sold his tech company. That is all he does. Okay, he's got that running group that we saw at the end. It's funny enough, at the end, when he was interacting with people that, you know, are fans of his, that was the most human I saw him. It was at the end.
Yeah. Well, so I think there was some very interesting sort of origin story parts of it. I think there's 2 parts. First of all is his career. Now, last week I spoke about burnout and how that affects decision making, and like, so for, if you haven't heard that, I was overworked to a large extent, and my decision making had to sort of really narrow down. So I would eat the same thing every day. I'd dress pretty much the same way every day just to get rid of some decisions. And I think towards the end, my decision making at work and behaviour became a little bit more erratic, because it's just like your judgment. And he actually mentions this as well in elsewhere, is that there's this badge of honour. I wore that badge of honour as well, of being overworked, of doing long hours. And you think, yeah, look how great I am, how important I am. I've got to do this. And he rightly points out, having been through it himself and very unhealthy at some stage, that CEOs in that position, they make worse decisions. They have worse outcomes from a business point of view. So even if you take away the work-life balance bit and focus solely on the work, by doing that, you're harming not only yourself, but also the business that you purport to love and you're giving it all for as well. I've also seen studies elsewhere that basically your productivity tails off or flattens at around 55 hours a week, and for a little bit, and then after that it starts to go down. So you're doing all these long hours, but your quality and output is demonstrably worse. And I was arrogant enough to believe, can you believe, that I was better than that, and my number was like 70.
I can break that cycle. I'm not. That's not me. I can beat that system.
Yeah, well, but you say that with a little smile on your face, as you know, as well. Whereas maybe that should be the norm. Maybe that should be the norm.
But someone said in there, and they said he's trying so hard not to die, he's forgotten how to live.
I know, but that comes back to that question, is that, you know, because we're all thinking about death and dying and the trauma of that in what we think will be the abstract, something that'll happen 40 years or more in the future. And we're very good human beings generally of, you know, putting that off. That's why people don't look. Going to the gym is not some big secret that I've stumbled across. Eating healthily isn't some sort of magic system that I've discovered. Everybody knows this, but we pull it off because, you know, Lord make me virtuous, but not yet. And he's bucked that. So, you know, the lifestyle or forgetting to live. Like, I'm arguing something that I don't fully believe in, but I'm trying to put the other side of that. But all those lifestyle things are essentially stuff that is killing you anyway.
Yeah, but do you not think, watching that documentary, and if you haven't watched it, he was from, his family are a very religious Mormons background.
Yeah.
And his reaction to going to church was literally to shut down for a few hours at a time and go to sleep. I think his views now are trauma. Listen, I'm not an expert, but could be trauma based because of.
I think I think this is the entire motivation for doing it. Like you, I'm going to psychoanalyze someone that I've seen on a documentary for about an hour, and with no psychological expertise whatsoever. But I've never let that sort of shit stop me in the past, and I'm not about to start now, because it did come on to like motivation. Why do you think he's doing it? Because all these protocols and stuff you can buy from his website, either directly or from Amazon links. There's loads of. He's got an app as well, and there is, and it's not cheap either. I mean, you can take everything that he has, his protocols, cost you £380 a month to buy them from his website. So with that, what do you think the motivation is for him to do this?
I just think he had the trauma of leaving the Mormon religion, which effectively ended his marriage because his wife was deeply religious. Out of his, I think it was 3 or 4 kids, he only sees one, who his son has now come to live with him, and has also sort of got down the same path. The documentary showed that he'd come to these decisions himself, which I hope is true. But obviously he's got that disconnect with his other children. And I think that all stemming from what caused that trauma, we don't know, but there was definitely an adverse reaction to the Mormon church or religion itself, plus his work lifestyle. And I think the culmination of those has given him the outlook he's got now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So his son, he's called Talmage. Where the fuck does that name come from?
I think that could be a religious name.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very unusual name, but I think, it's a religious one. Talmage was best buds with Jesus and wrote something with his. You can see I'm a real theologian here. But that seems all right. So that's where he got Talmage from. But I think that religious aspect does explain quite a lot. So my own interpretation of that is that he divorced his wife, or maybe she left him, and partly because he was working tons of hours.
Yeah,
and he did have an impact on his personal life, but within the Mormon church. But when he got divorced and left, he basically is excommunicated or exiled from the whole community. So kind of from his parents as well, although that relationship seems to be on the mend.
His old man sounded like a bit of a rascal when he was younger, didn't he?
I don't think he was as Mormon-y as one might expect.
He liked enjoyed a bit of the nose candy.
Yes, I think there was. He's definitely up to all sorts of stuff that are in very few biblical texts.
Do you know the first thing I saw when I first saw his dad? I looked at him and went, "Great night out. You look like a great night out, son."
Yeah, a little twinkle in his eye, no doubt. So, and as you say, he has 3 children, one of whom is 18 now, and in the documentary is shown spending it's essentially like 6 to 9 months of his last year at high school before he goes off to college. And there is a very touching moment actually when they're shopping for his shit in Target. Where Brian, he starts crying about the prospect of losing him again. What do you think of that moment?
That was the most real moment up until that point that you'd seen Brian. A lot of the time when he's talking, you can see, listen, the guy is from a tech background, started and sold a massive payment company, very intense. But you can see a lot of the time when he's talking, he goes into business brain. And I don't see that as the real him. That was the first moment where I thought, okay, that's the real you.
Yeah, I had a higher degree of sympathy for him, not least because it reminded me when I went to university and my mum was really upset about it for months and months and months. I mean, by the time I'd been gone about 3 months, she'd seemed to have got over that.
She forgot your name.
Yeah. Okay, what's happened to my room? Oh, it's a gym now. With his... so with his kids, do you know what I think he's doing? I think he's basically hibernating to some extent. I think he's trying to stay alive or reduce or stop aging so much so when his other children come to understand that he isn't this horrible demon that has left the church, that he has a lifetime with them. That is what I think he's doing. He's missing out and he's paying a heavy price for some lifestyle choices. I don't really want to get into the judgment of that, and we only know one side of the story as well.
That's it.
I mean, it only criticises him very lightly and then gives him an opportunity to come back massively. But yeah, that's what I think he's hibernating while alive, waiting for his children to come back to him. And he even says 100 years is not enough with them. I go back to my moving to Mars analogy. I agree with him. It's not enough. I don't want my relationship with any of the people that I love dearly to end. And yet It will. Not you.
But, okay. Bringing it to a lighter side of things, what did you think about now people, stick with me on this, the tri-generational plasma exchange?
This is ethically dubious.
Fucking hell.
So why don't you describe what that
Okay. So Brian Johnson has, and it scientifically is correct, that obviously if you give an older person plasma from a younger person, it can help with cognitive function. They've seen there's proof it helps with Alzheimer's, cognitive function, muscle gain, obviously muscle deterioration, almost like a homogeneous HGH, human growth hormone. There's loads and loads of benefits to it from a scientific point of view. What I didn't expect to see was Brian, his son, and Brian's dad having a little old swapsy with the plasma in a weird van covered in glitter.
Yeah, there is a special van that they do this. Do they have to go to where? They go to somewhere in Venezuela?
They had to go to. I mean, if it doesn't sound dodgy enough, you've got to go to Venezuela.
Now I know about these zones, right? So biohacking is one of the subjects that I want us to cover at some point. I've been doing a little research into this, and what this community are trying to do is set up basically free zones where FDA or whatever pharmaceutical regulation oversight and all other kinds of regulation as well does not exist. Now this isn't, of course, so they can cut corners. Oh no, and make
absolutely not,
and make as much money as humanly possible. No, it's much more altruistic than that. They claim is that they think that regulation slows down innovation, and they think in the absence of that, they can do shit like this. Now, is it scientifically as robust as you mentioned it? I don't know whether it is or not.
What's that? Sorry,
the plasma.
Yeah. I mean, the plasma. Looking into it, I mean, the plasma transfer.
Oh, right. I don't know. I haven't. I was just wondering whether we were taking it from the documentary.
No, if you look at it, the transfer of plasma, looking at numbers, can do that.
Okay.
But there's a safe and practiced way you can do that. Not just going into some dodgy van. And let me say, I know they're saying that they don't want to get the FDA and all these legislations and rules and regulations. Do you know why they exist? A lot of them. I don't agree with them. Because it was fucking mental. Because it was fucking mental before, like it is there, and things went bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like generations of people taking drugs that were bad for them.
People used to take arsenic for headaches and stuff. Mercury.
What about thalidomide?
Yeah.
And that was given to pregnant women, not because they thought it was good. And guess what? It wasn't. So that's the reason why it's there. And so, yeah, it does slow down innovation. That's a feature, not a bug.
Well, there's also that other drug where, and this is what I went, oh, you are a loose cannon, my son. When there's a drug that Harvard, and there's papers out there, and many labs and studies have been done on it, that this drug can, what it does, it turns off your immune system in mice. But ultimately doing that prolongs, if it's scientifically proven, to extend the age of the mice or how long they live. But this is a controlled environment. It's not given to them constantly. What our mate's doing, he's waking up in the morning, he's got this drug that's never been tested on human beings, and he opens the thing up and he goes, I'll take, and he literally went 25, 30, 35, I'll take 40.
Yeah.
And just puts them down the hatch.
And also, even if he does survive and it does preserve his life, the sample size is 1. It's not big enough to be able to see what the long-term effects across a population of people are, but that was one of the pushbacks. I mean, very light criticism of this, which is, no scientific value whatsoever. Maybe some scientific, but, not applicable because the sample size is too small.
No.
He may be just genetically disposed to tolerating all this stuff, and huge swathes of the population are not. And that's why these drugs take forever to get through the the system. No. So let's get back to the plasma transfer. So, you say that it's scientifically robust. What about we've mentioned about the look of it, but what do you think about the ethics of it? If your dad said to you, I need, for the old Tony Hancock thing, half an armful to keep me going for another 5 years, you're going to say yeah, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. But then
what's the problem? What's the problem with this?
Because if you want that, Dad, do you? What? We go to Venezuela, are we? Unless I can do it here.
So what I'm trying to get to is it the regulatory framework or lack thereof that is a problem for you, or is it in of itself a bit weird?
I think the way they did it made it weird.
Yeah, I mean they
had like a celebration about it, and the photo shoot they did off the back of it.
Yeah, there's
shit in my hat and punch it. That was weird.
Yeah, but so what? I mean, that's because
I know. It's.
I'm trying to unpack this. I'm not trying to say that what you're saying is wrong or anything, but I'm trying to I think the way they here who is right. Let's have a generous view of it. Yeah, he's weird, but all trailblazers and mavericks are weird. That's why they are viewed in that way.
Elon's not weird. We say it.
Did it right in this week. So what I'm trying to get to is that, is it ethically sound? I mean, I'm not an expert in, we'll add this to the list of things I'm not an expert in, but this sort of intergenerational cell exchange, I don't know. I mean, I would do it for my parents in a heartbeat. But
isn't
maybe
blood plasma treatments? Now, again, as Mark said, we're not experts. There are blood plasma treatments out there. Whether it's, I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. We're saying that the whole exchange thing is weird. What's weird about it?
No, just the way they did it. The whole thing was bizarre to me. Not if you look at
I totally agree. I'm just trying to work out what do we think? Why is it weird?
Right, I can boil it down. We've spoken about it. We've already gone over it. They're in what was like a modified RV covered in glitter, celebrating in Venezuela, and then they celebrated. I mean, just go to your doctors. Go to your doctors and get it done.
But it's not available there, and he's got the. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it as weird as we think?
Yeah, it's very weird.
When you put it like that, I think you're right.
Right, can we get a timestamp? I'm right. That's the first one. 15 episodes in. Bosh. It's a thought-provoking documentary. My favourite line. What was do you have a favourite line of the documentary? I nearly spat my drink out. He has the rectum of an 18-year-old.
There is a lot of that sort of. I have the X. Normally something that
Can't really prove.
of an 18-year-old, but you can prove it because he's got Talmadge is 18. He's the benchmark.
Right. So again, where my head goes right then is not a good place. Because then how do you assess that you've got the rectum of an 18-year-old? Yeah, it's...
Well, because they're like, I don't think it's as nefarious as
he's not getting the iPhone 13 and squatting over a mirror, is he? I mean, how do you...
Well, because he's doing all the stuff as well. That you see him as part of it.
No Lamboonies in his diet.
No, there aren't. One of the things I didn't get, right, is the regime. So he gets up at what, at 5 in the morning?
I wrote it down.
Go on. Well, so let's have his daily routine.
So he wakes up at 4:30, turns a specific light on, the whole house is in darkness, to give him exposure to a certain ray that I didn't catch and really wasn't interested in anyway. He takes 3 pills, takes his in core temperature via his ear in front of the mirror, goes downstairs and starts HRV therapy, which is basically he clips something to his ear that, in his words, scientifically chills his body. He takes 54 pills with a smoothie. He puts a cap on his head to stimulate hair growth. This is when I went, sorry, how much did you say? He does a workout and then eats a few pounds of vegetables. That's a hell of a lot. He does high frequency stimulation on his abdomen, which basically, in effect, gives you the effect of 2,000 sit-ups.
My mum had one of these in the 90s, right? Do you know what it's one of those fucking infomercial things that comes with like sensors, like 6 sensors. You put them on your abs, and it sort of tenses them and releases them through electrical current.
He's probably got all the Time Life fucking 1980s CDs. You get a 12 set of all the great songs from the 70s. He does 12 minutes of red light therapy on his face, hearing therapy, which has improved his hearing, which there was didn't go into any science on that. So, and then he has his last 2 meals of the day. And what time is that? That's all before 11 a.m.
And what time does he go to bed?
He goes to bed at 8:30. And just after he's had those meals, he has another 32 pills. So he's taken 86 pills before 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's the thing. How do you know which one of those is having any impact whatsoever? So what I don't understand is, why does he get up and go to bed so early? I understand that he wants the maximum amount of digestion time between his last meal and going to bed. Get up at 6:30 and go to bed at 10:30, like a normal person would. Like, why?
Missing Love Island, son.
Missing Love Island. I bet he's got his DVR recorded it.
He doesn't want. I don't think he watches TV. Let's be honest with his routine. But he's even got $2.5 million he spent in 2 years. But according to these calculations that they show us, in 2 years, apparently he's got 5 years younger, and in every 12 months, he ages 8.
Yeah, he's got that down. I'm on his mailing list because I follow his stuff. He reckons he's got that down. So I think that is at that time his aging rate was 64%. So he ages at 64% of the rate of the Earth and everyone else. He's got that down to 48% now. So under half, probably in about a year. Who knows how they verify this? You know, you can't cut his hand off and count the rings.
But it doesn't go out in sunlight, Mark. It doesn't go out in sunlight.
No, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. He does go out in sunlight when the UV levels are low enough.
Personally, for me, I know he's a complete outlier, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm torn intellectually between the fact that all this is sensible, forward-looking, long-term in it, and on the other hand, fuck that. Who can be bothered?
But there was a good point made, not by him but other doctors, and they're saying, and it's a point we all know. what they said was the US system, it's all about treating the issue. Where so much of the money and the way the US, I mean, I don't know enough about it, but it seems that the way the US system is set up is the money the pharmaceutical companies make all around the world is by selling these cures. But they're all
not cures.
They're treatments. Sorry, apologies, treatments. But they are treatments for the issue. What they were saying is, obviously it would be more beneficial if these billions and billions and billions of dollars were put into the research of preventing these issues happening. And that was I found it very interesting and conflicting all the way through.
I've been in a meeting with a CEO of a pharmaceutical company who said that we're not interested in cures, just treatments. Because treatments you get recurring revenue. Cures you need to treat a new disease. Did you change your mind about anything? I think that's the thing. Like, documentaries should really challenge a thought and then maybe present something that you didn't see before and think about it in a different way if they're doing their job properly. Are you going to do anything as a result of this differently? Has it changed your mindset?
The fact that I think I could be doing more. I think I've got a bit lax with the diet recently, and it sort of put me on a path to think, right, let's look at that again a little bit more. So that's been a positive. It's changed my outlook on him in a way. The fact that I thought he was generally just some complete Fruit Loop who was hell-bent on doing this without knowing the reasons why. Now understanding as much as you can from an hour and a half documentary, understanding a little bit more of what you're shown about his journey and why he's doing it. I think he's got good intentions at heart. Whether it benefits the wider world, that doesn't come into it. But I think he's not a bad guy. It's just this is what he wants to do.
Yeah, I had a very similar conversion from multi-millionaire tech guy, completely divorced from reality and, pumping all this worthless shit out. I even had, when I went on his website and found out you could buy stuff as well, had an even worse view of it. But, no one's forced to buy this stuff. I actually found him at the end to be a slightly tragic figure because of his personal life and his relationship with his children. I found
seems
that very
lonely.
sad.
He seems a very lonely man.
I did. I almost felt protective of him towards the end. That I was almost cheering him on. Like, I do want him to so when and if his remaining children do come into his life, I really hope that he's got years and years of happiness with them. That's what I felt at the end. That was my overriding thing, and I felt a little bit less cynical about it and the world in general by a fraction. I mean, my levels are quite high normally anyway.
And he's got, as I said before, the most human he seemed, because in the documentary you see him with his assistant, his son, and one or two other people, his doctors here and there. But the happiest he seemed, he has that annual Don't Die hike where people that are fans of his and buy the products, what have you, they get together and they do an annual hike. And he could, he was around these people immediately. Let's all have a group hug. And him standing on that table, giving a speech, jumping up and down, dancing with them. That was the first and only time you saw him like that in a documentary. So,
yeah, I think that was. I think that was. I don't think that was like a deliberate. I think that's just him sort of reintegrating with the world again in a way that.
But doesn't that show? Yes, he's trying to live, but he's such a cliche. He's trying to live, but is he living? Because that was the happiest he's seen the whole time.
So, Don't Die, The Man Who Wants to Live Forever. That is on Netflix. But what's it, about an hour and 15 minutes? I mean, it's not a great investment, and as Rich says, better than Love Island. It's not. But But if you have seen it or you watch it, we'd love to know what you think. Please get in touch with us at mumdadsgotanothertattoo at gmail.com and Dad's Got Another Tattoo on all the social media platforms. We might do a few more of these review type episodes of health and fitness and the personalities within it. Let us know if that's what you want. But until then, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.